Hey guys, welcome to my office. Today we are talking about all the varieties that I'm growing in 2023. So I have been working on my garden plan over the last couple weeks. Once Christmas is over, I really kind of go into the garden planning mode, and so that's kind of where I am now. I have my list of all the varieties I'm going to be growing in 2023 narrowed down and expanded upon, and used my notes I left myself from last year to kind of change and edit the list for this year. I am doing things a little bit differently in the garden this year, and I know I've kind of talked about it before, but I am going to be doing rows instead of the mess that I had last year. So it's going to be a little bit more structured, and it's gonna have a lot more stuff in it. The word for this year's garden is just more. I'm going to be working on growing a ton of food, and way more than I did last year. My goal for 2023 is to just grow more. I want to have more varieties, more plants, and use up more of my space in a way that makes more sense than it did last year. So the word of the year for the 2023 garden is more. So I'm going to take you through the list. I will put the name of each variety that I'm talking about on the screen so you can see it typed out. But we're just going to go through the list of everything, and then I will show you the sketch that I've made of my garden with my rows set up. I don't have it figured out of where I'm putting what quite yet. I will probably work on that probably closer to spring, but for now, this is the list of everything I'm growing in 2023. So let's get started. The first thing on my list is beans. So I'm doing a ton of different beans this year, doing pole beans and bush beans. Pole beans will grow vertically, so like up a pole, or I prefer to grow them on a cattle panel arch trellis. They cover the whole thing, they look beautiful, and I have done that for a few years now, and I really love it. It did not work out super well in 2022, but in 2020 and 2019, I did pole beans on an arch trellis, and they did wonderfully. Since we've moved to this house in 2021, I've had trouble with beans in the springtime because rabbits like to eat them when they're little. But I did some in the fall last year just on a flat panel piece, and they did great. So I'm going to try to do them again on an arch because they just look beautiful, and I just love looking at the beans hanging down. So for pole beans, we are doing rattlesnake pole, purple potted pole, blue lake pole, and Kentucky Wonder pole. So I will do 2 arches, so 2 16 by 4 foot panels into an arch. I will plant 1 variety on each side of each arch, so that'll be my 4 varieties of pole beans. I'll have 2 arches of beans. So that'll be the pole beans, and then I'm going to interplant and also just have another big patch of bush beans. And for bush beans, I have a ton of varieties I'm going to try this year. I've had trouble with bush beans in the past, and so I'm going to try a bunch of varieties and just kind of see what works out best. So I have tender green, dragon tongue, jade, Cherokee wax, Roma 2, Canter, Slenderette, Provider, and Blue Lake 274. Those are all bush beans. So with bush beans, you want to plant a lot of them in a very tight area, and that will help those plants grow bushier, and you'll also have less chance of pest pressure. If you have one bush bean plant by itself, the chances of it growing and producing food are not as high because it's just by itself. That's from my experience last year, and in the past I have done that before and it just hasn't worked out super well. So that's the beans. So moving on to the next thing, which is cucumbers. I am doing 6 different varieties of cucumbers for this year, plus cucamelons. I put cucamelons in my cucumbers category because to me they feel like a cucumber. I don't know, but plus cucamelons. So 6 varieties of cucumbers plus cucamelons, or Mexican sour gherkins, or they're also called mouse melons I've seen. So definitely doing those again as well. Those will go on some sort of cattle panel. I don't know what, if I'm gonna do it on the side of an arch or if I will do them on a flat panel piece or what yet. I'll figure it out, but definitely doing cucamelons. For the cucumbers, we are doing Green Dragon Burpless, which is like my standby, like we'll grow it every year variety. It's just I get it at Rural King. It's a Livingston seed company seed that I get, and I grew it just on a whim a few years ago and I love it. The Armenian Yard Long, Muncher, Salt and Pepper, Marketmore 76, and Straight 8. So some of these are more of a pickling focused cucumber and some of them are not. The Armenian Yard Long is actually not a cucumber. It's considered a melon, but you eat it like a cucumber. So, and it grows like a cucumber. So we're gonna do that one. I did plant those seeds last fall or late summer, I guess, and they didn't make it. So we're gonna try it again and hope that we get something off of them this time because I really wanna try those. And we're doing the salt and pepper again, which was my favorite cucumber from 2022. So that's the cucumbers. I will do those on probably flat cattle panel pieces. In the past, I've always done them on an arch, but like honestly, they don't really fill out an arch as well as like a pole bean would. So I have decided that I think I'm just gonna do them on a flat piece and have them go vertically up that. I do have the 16-foot wide panels, but then I also have some that are 8 feet wide that were like cut in half. So I will probably use, I don't know, I'll use one of those to do my cucumbers. Now onto herbs. Herbs are very much like I will grow all these things, plus I'll probably do some other stuff as I'm starting seeds. Plus I did order some seeds, and those aren't on this list yet. I did order from In My Gardener some blue spice basil that I wanted to try, so that's not on here, but it will be because I will grow it. So as for the list, this is what we have. Slow Bolt cilantro, Mammoth Dill. I will start some more oregano and thyme. I am probably going to be selling plant starts again this year, and herbs like oregano and thyme, those are something that really are good sellers for me. And also, I want to establish oregano and thyme in my garden in other places. I have them now in one of my Keystone raised beds, and they are doing pretty well there. But I kind of would like to establish them somewhere else as well. So I'm gonna start some more of those. Flat leaf parsley, Thai basil, Emily basil, dark opal basil, lettuce leaf basil, curly parsley. Moving on to peppers. I am doing a lot of peppers this year. When we did our seed swap, you guys sent me so many pepper seeds to swap, and I went a little crazy, to be honest, saving seeds from all of your little packets for myself. So the pepper situation this year is going to be absolutely insane, and I can't wait. I'm really hoping for a good pepper year. So let's get to this list. So on repeat is the Glow pepper from last year. That is a hybrid from Johnny's. It is an orange bell pepper. It's really, really good. It's pretty uniform in size, and I did not have a lot of pest pressure on that plant, which was also nice. I will also be doing the Keystone resistant giant bell pepper, which is like my go-to big bell pepper. Lemon spice jalapeno, which is a yellow jalapeno. They taste like a jalapeno, but they have just a tiny bit of sweetness to them because they're yellow, and they're just so good. And last year I actually made a batch of salsa that was made with all yellow tomatoes, yellow jalapeno, yellow onion, and it was, one, it was beautiful, and two, it was delicious. It had just this bright, punchy like note to it, this flavor, and it was so stinking good. It was so good. So doing that one again for sure. I am doing the shishito because those are so good, just blistered in a pan in a cast iron skillet. They are delicious. Definitely doing more of those. Sugar Rush Red, which I did not know existed. I thought it was only the Sugar Rush Pete's, so super excited to try that one. Craig's Grande Jalapeno, which is like my favorite, just regular green jalapeno. They're huge monsters. They'd be great for making like jalapeno poppers with, because they're grande for sure. The Ajvarski pepper, which is a bell pepper. Chocolate Beauty Bell, which is one I have grown before and really liked. It does ripen to brown, and to be honest, it doesn't really taste much different from a green bell pepper, but it's brown, and I think that's cool, and so that's why I grow it. Then we also have mini chocolate bells. Those came from the seed swap, so thank you to whoever sent those because I am really excited about them. Pepperoncinis, growing those again, mostly to can. I do pickle those and can them, and I use them in a lot of recipes that I make. So the Mississippi pot roast you can make in the crock pot or the Instant Pot uses those, as well as the grinder sandwiches that have been super popular like on TikTok over the last year or so. Those are so good. I make them all the time. They're so quick and easy, and they use pickled pepperoncinis. So definitely gonna be growing more of those because I'm down to my last jar. I'm doing some orange bell peppers, some habanadas and nadapenos, which are the heatless versions of habaneros and jalapenos. So going to be trying both of those. I'm really curious to see kind of how those taste. The pizza pepper, which I'm not really sure what that is, but it sounded super cool, so we're growing that. Cubanelles, California Wonder Bells, which are like the standard like garden seed that you'll get for growing bell peppers. Sugar Rush Peach, so excited about that one. Mini Bell Blend. Lilac Bell, which is a purple bell pepper. You know how I love my colors. Hatch green peppers. This variety that doesn't have a name, but it just had a huge jalapeno on the bag. Definitely doing that one because I'm curious. Gypsy Bell, chocolate candy cane pepper, and candy cane red. So the two candy canes are supposed to be variegated, and I can't wait to see those. They're gonna be so cool. So that's a lot of peppers. I know that, but I'm excited. I need to re-up my pantry storage and freezer storage of peppers. So that's gonna be the goal this year, is to really put up a lot of peppers. I did get a food saver for Christmas. So a lot of these bell peppers, I will chop them and freeze them. But the problem you have with freezing fresh peppers is that they let off liquid and then it forms ice, and then they're just stuck in this big wad of ice. But now I have a food saver, so I won't have that problem. So I'm very excited to try that this year with all my peppers. Now I will also do the same thing with jalapenos. I will put full, like whole jalapenos in the freezer, and then as you need them, you just get them out and you can dice them up, or I've even like microplaned them into a pot of chili. And then I am going to be making lots of salsa again, like I always do, pickling some pepperoncinis and pickling some jalapenos as well, because we do love a pickled jalapeno. And I don't know what else. Eating them raw, I will just eat a pepper by itself. So, you know, I have to have enough for that as well. I'm also considering maybe selling produce this summer, just like from the garden. But that's neither here nor there. We'll kind of talk about, we'll talk about that later. Next on the list is roots. Now, I have some of these already started that I did in the fall, but I am going to be planting more in the spring. It's mostly carrots and beets. I have some other stuff already started out in the garden that I did in the fall, but for spring, I'm going to be planting Scarlet Nantes carrots, Amarillo carrots, purple carrots, Danvers half-long carrots, Imperator carrot, Royal Chantenay carrots, and Golden Detroit beets. Now the beets we winter sowed. Don't know if that's gonna work, but that's what we did. The carrots, I have done the board method where you put your seeds down and then you lay a board over them. It actually worked really well. I did get a pretty decent harvest of carrots last year, and I was super excited because it was really the first like root vegetable I had successfully grown. I'm going to be amending my soil again in the spring and kind of fluffing that back up before I plant carrots, and I will probably do the board method again because it worked pretty well. So it was easy and I got food out of it, so can't be mad. Next is squash. We are doing squash again this year. I'm gonna do it in the spring. I'm also going to restart my zucchini and my yellow crookneck squash in the fall as well. So for squash, we're doing the Italian striped zucchini and the cube of butter squash, which the cube of butter squash is a hybrid from Botanical Interests. It is so good. I talked about that squash a lot last summer, and it's delicious, but the only thing that I don't like about it is the seeds were kind of expensive and you didn't get very many. So I did save some seeds this year, or last year I guess. I don't know if they're going to be viable or not, so we're gonna try it, but I do still have a few left in the packet. So other than that, for winter squash varieties, I'm doing Honeynut, Delicata, and Waltham butternut squash. So two different varieties of butternut squash. The Honeynut is the smaller variety that I grew last year, and the Waltham butternut is just the classic butternut squash. I've really liked having those in the pantry for winter, and really wanted to have more because I have one Honeynut squash left and really wish I had grown more of those. So doing those again. I'm also gonna do Delicata again. I did not get any Delicata squash last year. And I think if I remember correctly, the squash bugs got to the plant. So fingers crossed that doesn't happen this year and I can actually get some Delicata squash. Okay, next on the list is tomatoes. Now, if there's one thing, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Lindsey and I'm addicted to growing tomatoes. That's really all you need to know. I know I sound like I'm addicted to growing peppers, but like until you hear the tomato list, I've lost my mind. Anyway, now also I did buy 2 more varieties today that I'm not going to grow for myself, but I'm going to be growing to sell. So the ones I bought just to sell are Mortgage Lifter and just a red beefsteak. I probably won't grow either of those because once you hear my list, you're gonna be like, that's enough. But I did buy those seeds to grow to sell. So let's get into my list and then go from there. So we have, are these all cherry tomatoes at the top? Yes. For the cherry tomatoes, we have black cherry, blueberries cherry, Salisaw Cafe cherry, Sun Gold, Isis Candy, Blonde Girl, and Brad's Atomic Grape. So you will see that there is a trend with these that I'm growing every color of the rainbow of tomatoes in cherry tomato form because that's the type of person I am. So that's a lot of cherry tomatoes, but that's okay. Like I said, I'm going to use up what I can and hopefully, maybe, potentially sell the extras. So that's the cherries. As for the rest, I do have these kind of in like a color order. So starting with red, I have Abe Lincoln, Aussie, Triple Crop, Delicious, Jumbo Roma, San Marzano, and Roma, the Determinate variety. So I have two Romas. I have the Jumbo Roma and the Determinate Roma. The Jumbo Roma is a larger size tomato. It's still that same shape, but it is an indeterminate plant. So it grows tall in vines, whereas the regular Roma, the determinate size, is a smaller tomato and the plant is more compact as well. I am going to be growing both of those for myself and also to sell. Those two varieties tend to do better with plant sales. San Marzano is like my favorite go-to like Italian style paste tomato. So I grow those mostly to can. I will eat them fresh, but I mostly can those. Chianti Rose is like a pinkish tomato. Firebird is a red and yellow kind of striped tomato. Big Rainbow is also a kind of red and yellow striped tomato. Amana Orange is an orange one. Kellogg's Breakfast is an orangey yellow. Hillbilly is a yellow with like red stripes. And then we have the Aunt Ruby's German Green, Black from Tula, and Carbon, which are both purple tomatoes, and Cream Sausage, which is a white tomato, and I hate the name of it, but we're gonna grow it anyway because I got it in the seed swap and I thought, okay, I have to grow that. That's ridiculous, and I hate the name of it. I don't know why. It's just, those two words shouldn't be together, I feel like, but here we are. I'm growing a tomato called Cream Sausage. Oh, and you guys are gonna come right along with me. So that's all the tomatoes. I am doing, like I did last year, I'll do the cherry tomatoes in a separate spot from the other tomatoes, like the bigger ones. And that's just so it's easier to pick cherry tomatoes all at once than having to go around the garden. For flowers, I don't really have a good list of flowers right now. I didn't go through all my flowers, but I am basically going to be focusing on zinnias, some nasturtium, and I'm gonna be growing some sunflowers. My best friend and I have been researching sunflowers over the last like 6 months and have found that sometimes your sunflowers can actually inhibit the growth of plants that are planted near them. And we have both found that to be true in our gardens. So at our old house, I grew sunflowers in like a 3-foot section between 2 cattle panels. And I noticed that whatever I planted on both sides of those sunflowers never really did as good as everything else around it. So I am still going to plant sunflowers because they also clean soil. So they will suck out any bad stuff in the soil and do a lot of work for you when it comes to rehabilitating soil. So when we bought our house, we knew that the previous owners around our privacy fence had been spraying Roundup up next to the privacy fence so they didn't have to mow and weed eat against the fence, which, like, fair, okay, I get it. But I'm not gonna plant food there. So I planted sunflowers there last year. They all did okay. I am gonna plant some more there this year, but it's not gonna be as many. They're going to be interplanted with like the Mexican red torch sunflowers, which technically aren't a sunflower. So I don't think that those affect plants like other ones do. I'm not really sure. I'm gonna do a lot of zinnias. I had my poppies winter sown as well. I'm gonna do a lot of marigolds. The marigolds will be more interplanted in the garden with nasturtiums as well. But that's kind of what I'm thinking for flowers. I'm gonna show you the sketch I made. It's really bad, and it's confusing, but I will explain it. So this is the garden. Can you see it? This is the garden. So back here, this is that row of flowers. So this is the privacy fence. The greenhouse is over here, and then my other raised beds are here. So this is a row that'll be all flowers, and then I have 5 rows down. So that will be coming from the back where the privacy fence is towards the double garden gate. So I'm looking at 205 feet worth of growing space by 3 feet. So that'll be the total square footage. Now I am going to be buying the woven ground cover. It's 3 feet wide. The roll I'm gonna buy is like 300 feet long. I'm gonna buy it through Grower Solutions. It's about $100 for a roll. So it's a pretty decently sized investment for the garden, but it will prevent weeds, like full stop, wherever it is. And I will be able to burn holes in it with like a butane torch to plant in. So it'll also act as a mulch. So I won't necessarily have to like spread a ton of mulch. I will still mulch around each plant individually, more than likely. I can't imagine that I wouldn't do that, but I won't have to like lay just so much mulch that it's ridiculous. So that's the plan for now. It will probably shift and change a little bit as things progress, but for now, that's the plan. So it seems like a lot. It is a lot. It's a lot. I know it's a lot. And I know that it seems like I'm growing way more than I did last year, because I am. That's the goal, is to grow more than I did last year. So this has made me super excited for starting seeds pretty soon. I'm going to be starting my peppers here in just over a month. So that's very exciting. I can't wait to do that with you, because it's always my favorite day of the year, is starting those first seeds back here on the seed starting area. So thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to start gardening with you, and I will see you in the next one.